We've got a number of areas to talk about, but maybe the most obvious area first of all is the web.
Sure.
A lot of focus on Web 2.0 at the moment, and I think startups have clearly led that and corporates are trying to pick it up. But can we talk a bit about Web 3.0 and what you see that has been, and the degree that how corporates could adopt Web 3.0?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Web 3.0 has been defined as elegantly yet. I think by that if one just means the next generation of the internet. I mean, I think people do talk about the semantic web.
That's right.
Which is, I guess, mostly what people mean by Web 3.0, which is obviously really meaning understanding the meaning of every page rather than just being a sort of Boolean stream of words.
Yeah.
I think what's it really mean for corporate? It just means further acceleration of the trends that we've got today. And it just means, I think, the web becomes more and more important. I think within Web 3.0, perhaps one should wrap in more enhanced use of video, location-based services, screens that are meaning the internet is just all pervasive. So I think it's the opposite pervasive nature of the internet and uses that come from understanding meaning of web pages.
Right. So if you take that then as a sort of an environment, the challenge for many big corporates is they're used to sort of working in an organised way and not...
No, sure. Yeah, I think the issue is that it's about risk, and it's about the fact that in this new world you don't necessarily understand what the implications for consumers are going to be, and nobody does. Consumers in Web 2.0 anyway were definitely inventing their own uses based on technology tools, and it was the people who were able to publish great tools that were able to benefit most. And then I think for large corporates, it is that different culture in terms of risk-taking and the ability to fail, which corporates don't like, that will separate those that are able to cannibalize themselves perhaps and to explore the new opportunities.
Yeah, because in your spare time you do some board work with bigger boards, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you sense that they get the technology, the people on these sort of boards?
Well, I'm on the Guardian board, the GMG, Guardian Media Group board, and I think it's fair to say that there you have got, as you've got the people who publish Media Guardian and the people who have a website of almost 20 million monthly uniques, they obviously see what's happening. I think, however, obviously all corporates are cautious about risk. That's calculated into the risk-reward profile of corporates. Yeah. So I think in general that statement's true.
Right. A number of areas that I'd like to cover with you, around the web and how you lead a business and maybe some of your own secrets. I think given your background, maybe we could talk first of all about the web.
Yeah.
Could you maybe share your point of view about Web 2.0 or 3.0 and how it's going to impact the world, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's going to dramatically change business and the world more generally in a number of quite fundamental ways. I think firstly, it's a democratizing force. So suddenly people who previously weren't necessarily empowered with the ability to build their own business or grow their own business beyond even national or local shores now are capable from basically a garage to build a business which can have a global impact. Examples of that, whether it's Apple or it's Google or HP, these businesses are now have global brand names, have grown pretty much from an acorn and blossomed. So I think that's one key point to think about.
So do you think it's going to be pretty fundamental? Do you have a sense about? Do you have a sense about how it will be from a consumer and also from what it means for big corporates?
Yes, I think one of the key elements is it does empower the customer and empowers consumers in a new way. Because of the interactive nature of digital media, suddenly people can talk back at the companies or the organisations they've been customers of for many years often, and so you have these kind of websites setting up, for example, so Tesco sucks or something.com, which are very hard for the company to control or close down. And they shouldn't actually. It's a way and an opportunity for them to engage with their customers, understand more about what their customers think about current services and offerings, and actually then respond. Starbucks have a great idea, which is basically asking their own customers for what do you want from your local Starbucks, what do you like, what you don't like, but what else should we as a company be doing? And so there's this concept of crowdsourcing new ideas and new concepts, and I think that's something which the kind of more forward-looking companies are really embracing, and I think will be really a trend for the future. Right,
okay. Because a lot of the corporates that I deal with are still very much in a command and control and want to control everything.
Yes.
And that seems to be at odds with the more dynamic nature of the web.
I think that's right. I think that's right. And I think it's a challenge for those companies to embrace these new interactive technologies and to see it as an opportunity rather than as a threat to their, the way that things have always been done, if you like.
Yeah.
It's not the first time it's happened, of course. The advent of TV, radio, and other things over time. This is not the first time. I think the rate of innovation and technology shift is accelerating.
Yeah.
So it's getting easier for new organizations and companies and competitors to spring up in places you didn't necessarily look to them before, either by geography or sector. And the idea of adjacent markets is now becoming a little bit more blurred, for example, as companies like Google, are they really competing with WPP and, those sorts of companies? Are they competing with phone companies? Are they competing with other sorts of organization? It becomes a more blurred picture, more dynamic picture, and can shift quite fast as alliances and changes happen in the industry.
When we talk about the web, and a lot of people are very excited about the web, and a lot of people are quite cynical about it because they've seen the sort of booms and bust cycles before, even within the web.
Yeah.
Are there any sort of pitfalls you think that will halt the development of the web, or do you see it as being ultimately the global platform that we'll all be connected to and impact?
Yes, I think in a few years' time it'll seem odd for us to talk about the web or the internet. It'll be just something which is out there, and it's all about the services or the products or the opportunity or the communication channels that it offers, which will be what we'll talk about. Just as people don't really talk about with the mobile phone, they don't think of the technology behind it. They think of what the phone can do for them. And I think we'll get to the stage where the web will be so ubiquitous in people's lives, both in a fixed line and a mobile kind of environment, that actually it'll be less about the technology and more about the services and applications. And that's starting to happen as certain companies' services enter kind of public consciousness and become verbs in their own right. Whether it's eBay, becoming just the place people go to buy and sell used items, for example. Google, Googling something is now almost a recognized verb. It's probably in the dictionary, and so on. Those sorts of activities become almost what people talk about more than I'm on the internet. If you access something on your phone, for example, really phones these days are just computers. They just happen to have a different form factor, different look from traditional computers you might think about on your desk. So I think the way people think about technology would evolve, less about technology, more about what it can do for them.
Right. And is there any sort of fundamental secrets for CEOs to win in the sort of new web world?
I think to be very open. So I think to be open to ideas and to be open to changes and challenging your existing businesses and business models before somebody else comes along and does it for you. I mean, the internet's been reaching into obviously the media industry for a long time. We're now seeing some of those major shifts really come to pass. Newspaper industry being a good example of that. Having said that, even in the car industry or in industries which people have thought, oh God, it's the last place the internet's ever going to reach. To buy and sell a car now, the first place most consumers go if they're going to buy a car is the web, right? Before they walk into a dealership, they would have done their research and they go in, saying, okay, this is what I want and this is the price I'd like. Going to the doctor these days, people generally have gone in and done the research before, so they may know more than their doctor when they walk in. That's quite challenging to doctors or to car dealers who for many years have relied on the supplier, if you like, of the service, having superior access to knowledge. And that's changing the opportunity, and I think it gives organizations, large and small, the chance to, as I say, engage deeper with consumers and businesses and their customers, but also to be much more thoughtful and much more open to evolving the way they do things to make sure that they can really address the opportunity.
Right, okay, no, I agree with you. I suppose also with your experience, because you've sort of done startups like Up My Street, and you've also worked in more of the Yahoo corporate environments as well. What's your sense about how companies can be entrepreneurial, or how leaders can, how can someone come in and make an impact in a more established corporate?
I think it's hard, and I think it takes at its fundamental buy-in from chairman, board, chief exec level to really make it work. I think that the day is past when the internet is just another channel, or it's just another part of the business kind of bolted onto the side. Actually, for many businesses looking forward, it becomes the heart of the opportunity.